Can you imagine walking into your family home on New Year's Eve, hearing the music, the laughter, the glasses clinking, and then realizing someone you love is trapped just a few feet below all that noise? That night is burned into me. It was supposed to be a celebration, but what I found still keeps me awake. I'd just pulled up to my dad's old place in Boulder. The driveway was full of cars, the whole house lit up. From the outside, it looked like a postcard. Christmas lights still strung around the porch, laughter spilling out through the windows. For a second I thought, maybe this year will feel different. Maybe we'll have some kind of peace. I couldn't have been more wrong. I stepped in and got hit with the smell of roast beef and wine. My cousins were already half drunk, shouting over each other, and Sandra, my aunt, was in the middle of telling some long story, waving her hands like she owned the place. Everyone acted like I'd just dropped in from another planet. A couple of nods, a few tight smiles, but no real warmth. Typical. But then I heard something else. It was faint, almost hidden under the music. A muffled sound, not laughter, not singing, more like crying. I froze. I told myself it had to be the TV in another room, maybe someone watching a sad movie, but it wouldn't stop. I felt it pulling me down the hallway, past the kitchen, toward the basement door. The closer I got, the clearer it became. Those weren't TV sounds. Those were sobs. Trembling, gasping sobs. My stomach knotted. I reached the basement door and felt cold metal under my palm. It was locked. Actually locked. Who locks a basement door during a party? I grabbed the knob, rattled it, called out. Silence for a beat. Then from the other side, the weakest voice. Kyle? My heart dropped. That voice. I'd know it anywhere, my grandma. I can't explain the rush of anger and fear that hit me all at once. My grandma, the woman who practically raised me, who made me pancakes every Saturday, who listened to me when nobody else did, locked away like she was nothing. I didn't even think. I just slammed my shoulder into the door until the old wood cracked and the lock gave way. When the door swung open, the smell hit first. Damp air, dust, and something stale. She was sitting on the concrete floor, wrapped in an old blanket, her hair disheveled, her cheeks streaked with tears. She looked so small, so fragile, and still she managed a smile when she saw me. "Why are you here?" she whispered. I dropped to my knees, pulled her into my arms. "Why are you here, Grandma?" What the hell is going on? By then, voices from upstairs started filtering down. What's that noise? Who broke the door? Feet shuffling, glasses clinking as people moved closer. My chest was heaving, my pulse racing. I picked her up. She was light, far too light, and I carried her up the steps. Every head in that living room turned when I emerged with her in my arms. The music was still playing, but the laughter died instantly. You could have cut the silence with a knife. Sandra's glass of wine froze halfway to her lips. Rick, my cousin, muttered, "Oh, for God's sake." My dad looked at me like I'd just embarrassed him in front of the world. I didn't care. I put her down gently on the couch, threw the blanket over her shoulders, and looked at every single one of them. What the hell is wrong with you people? She was locked in the basement. No one moved. No one spoke. Just a room full of guilty eyes and clenched jaws. "Do you know what it feels like?" I said, my voice shaking, "to find the only person who ever believed in you hidden away like she doesn't matter?" I waited for someone, anyone, to answer. Nothing. Just the hum of the stereo and the sound of my grandma's quiet sobs. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just about family drama or holiday tension. This was cruelty, and I wasn't going to stand by. If you've ever had a moment when you realized your family could betray the one person who deserved their love the most, you know exactly how that night felt. And if you haven't, well, stick with me, because what came after made this discovery look like just the beginning. When I set Grandma down on the couch, the room did that thing crowds do when a storm rolls in. The smiles flatten. The eyes look anywhere but at the lightning. You know that feeling? When you can't decide if you should speak or run? That's where we were. Nobody ran. Dad cleared his throat first? Of course he did. He has that voice that sounds like gravel under a truck tire. Kyle, he said, steady, like he was warning me and welcoming me at the same time. This isn't the place. I looked at him, at Sandra with her red lipstick and frozen smile, at Rick leaning on the mantel like a bored movie extra. She was locked in the basement, I said. What is the place for that? Sandra set her glass down, too softly to be accident. Don't be dramatic, she said. Your grandmother needed quiet. People were everywhere. She gets overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by oxygen? I asked. My voice came out thin, dangerous. By blankets? By chairs that aren't made of concrete? Rick chuckled, like I'd told a joke that wasn't funny. You blow in twice a year, man, and suddenly you're an expert on caregiving. He took a sip of wine and tilted his head. You still doing the beat cop thing? Or did you get promoted to home inspector? There it was, the pivot. Not what happened to Grandma, but what was wrong with me. If you've been there, you know, the target moves, you blink, and somehow you're the problem. I knelt to tuck the blanket under Grandma's feet. She was shivering in that way older bodies shiver, like the cold has roots. You okay? I whispered. She squeezed my wrist. I'm fine now, she said, but her voice betrayed her. Fine always breaks on the last letter, Dad exhaled. Long. Son, he said, you left. You made your choice, Denver. The badge, that's fine. But don't come in here and assume. I stood. Assume. I heard her crying through the music. The door was locked. You want me to assume that's love? Silence again. Only the stereo humming something cheerful that didn't belong in the room. I walked over and shut it off. The quiet that followed was louder than any song. Sandra crossed her arms. You don't see the day-to-day, the bills, the pills, the falls. You swoop in whenever you feel guilty, and you want a medal for carrying her up a flight of stairs. I stared at her, at the pearls resting on her collarbone like a period at the end of a sentence she'd practiced in the mirror. I don't want a medal. I want the door unlocked, Rick snorted. You mean you want control? There it was again, the tell. That word hangs in certain families like a chandelier. Control. It looks pretty until it falls. A memory hit me then, sharp as a cold wind. Pattern interrupt. I'm 8 years old, sitting at Grandma's round kitchen table. The one with the burn mark from a skillet she swears never touched it. There's a bowl of batter and a wooden spoon, and she's letting me stir even though I'm splashing it everywhere. A mess means you're doing, she says. We can clean later. The house smells like vanilla and warm air. Dad stomps in from the garage, boots leaving little scars on the linoleum. I need the boy to stack wood, he says. Chores first. Grandma turns, wipes her hands on a towel, and stands between us like a lighthouse. He can stack wood after pancakes, she says, gentle but immovable. Nobody thinks straight on an empty stomach. Back in the living room, I blinked the memory away. She taught me what enough looks like, I said, more to myself than to them. She showed me where the line is. Sandra narrowed her eyes. The line? You mean the line where you feel entitled to judge the people actually doing the work? The work, I repeated. Which part? The part where you tell her to keep quiet when guests arrive? The part where you decide the basement is better for everyone? Dad rubbed his forehead. This is going nowhere, he said. Kyle, you're making a scene. I'm making a scene? I laughed, and it sounded wrong in my own ears. You locked away the only person in this house who's never lied to me, and I'm making a scene? Rick rolled his eyes. Spare us the hero speech. He pointed to the shattered lock lying on the floorboards like a broken tooth. You going to pay for that? And there it was, the first glint of metal under the dirt. Not concern, not apology, money, always money. "Forget the lock," I said. "Tell me why she was down there." Sandra's tone softened just enough to sound poisonous. "There were a lot of people. The house is old. The steps are narrow. She's had episodes. We had to think about liability." "Liability," I said slowly, tasting the word like a bitter drink. "She's not a lawsuit, Sandra. She's family." "And families have to be practical," she shot back. "We've kept this place afloat. We've paid for the repairs. We've taken on the responsibility you abandoned." Dad flinched at the word abandoned, but he didn't correct her. He never does. He lets other people say the things he wants said. I stared at him, waiting. Nothing. Just that gravel breath and a stare at the carpet like it held an answer. I turned away before the heat in my chest boiled over. I went to the kitchen for water and found the pill organizer on the counter, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Rows of tiny promises, some empty, some double-filled. A checkbook lay open beside it, neat numbers marching down the page, a signature that looked like my grandmother's and somehow didn't. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. Sometimes you can hear a story without picking it up. When I came back, Grandma had her hands folded in her lap, like she was trying to make herself smaller. I sat beside her and spoke to the room. "She's not a burden." "We never said she was," Sandra replied too fast. "Then why do you talk about her like a bill?" Rick leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Because bills matter, Kyle. Roofs leak, heaters die, food costs money. You wouldn't know. You're not here." "I sent money," I said. He tilted his head, wolfish. "Not enough." I felt something cold settle inside me. Not rage. Not yet. A clarity, like when snow finally stops and you see how deep it is. "So this is about the house," I said. "And what comes with it?" "Nobody said that," Sandra snapped. But her eyes flicked just once toward the hallway that leads to Dad's study. The place he keeps old papers. The place Grandma used to keep save-alls, stamped envelopes, letters with brittle edges. I looked at Dad. "Is it?" He met my gaze for the first time. His jaw worked. "Don't make trouble where there isn't any," he said. "We've kept things together, that's all. Together. Another chandelier word. Looks good. Heavy. Dangerous when it falls." Grandma touched my arm again. "No fighting," she murmured. "Please." I swallowed. "Okay," I said. For her, always for her. No fighting. Then to the room. But the door stays open. No one disagreed. No one agreed either. They just watched me the way people watch a dog that might bite. I adjusted the blanket. I poured her water. I sat there and let the minutes pass until the party died of embarrassment. People drifted out with the careful small talk of cowards. "Happy New Year. Drive safe. Let us know if you need anything." They never do. When it was just the four of us, Dad, Sandra, Rick, and me, I said, "I'm staying tonight." Sandra bristled. "We don't need a babysitter." "It's not for you," I said. "It's for her." Rick stood. "Fine. But don't rearrange anything." He looked around the room like he was taking inventory of a store he half owned. "We have a system." I wanted to ask who "we" was, and what the system cost, and how much of Grandma it had already used up, but I let it go, for now. I helped Grandma to her old bedroom at the back of the house, the one that still smelled like cedar and hand lotion. The quilt was the same. The photo on the nightstand, the one of me in a crooked little league cap, was the same. Time had not won here yet. I tucked her in, sat on the edge of the bed, and asked softly, "Do you want to tell me anything?" She looked past me, toward the window where the porch light made a small moon on the glass. "You're here," she said. "That's enough. I wish it had been." I came back to the living room. Sandra and Rick were whispering by the mantel. They stopped when they saw me. Dad was at the kitchen doorway, arms folded, leaning the way men lean when they want you to think they haven't made up their mind, but they have. "I'll take the couch," I said. Dad nodded, like he was granting permission to a guest. "Suit yourself." I lay down and stared at the ceiling. The house creaked in that winter way, deep and old. I listened for footsteps, for doors, for keys. I watched the darkness and thought about pancakes and wooden spoons, and a woman who stood between me and a stack of firewood because she believed kids should eat before they work. Here's the thing about cracks. You don't see them until pressure finds them. You can paint the wall. You can hang a picture. You can tell yourself the house is fine. But when the cold sinks in and the lights flicker, that's when you hear it. The faint split. The sigh of something giving. The crack in my family had a sound that night. It wasn't the lock. It wasn't the argument. It was the word together said like a bill due at the end of the month. It was practical, said like a prayer to a God I don't believe in. It was the way no one asked my grandmother if she wanted to come upstairs. If you're still with me, hear this. People will tell you you're the problem when you name a wound. They'll call you dramatic, disloyal, absent, but a locked door is a locked door. A basement is a basement. No synonym changes that. I closed my eyes. I told myself I'd figure it out in the morning, but I already knew. The door was open, the crack was open, and whatever was hiding in this house wasn't done with us. If you've seen a family shift like this, if you've felt that pressure turn toward money, toward control, tell me in the comments how you kept your compass straight. Someone else reading might need your story. 3 days after the party died, I walked Grandma up a narrow flight of creaking stairs to a law office above a hardware store. You know the kind. Bell on the door, coffee that tastes like it's been loyal too long, floor wax trying its best to smell like dignity. The brass letters on the glass said Price and Bowen, EST, 1926. Old money fonts always know how to look calm. Sandra was already there, wrapped in a coat with a fur collar too loud for a Tuesday morning. Rick leaned back in a chair like it owed him rent. Dad stood by the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the gray strip of Front Street, as if traffic might hand him a script. The receptionist pointed us to a conference room with a long table that had more scars than a prize fighter. "Thank you for coming," the attorney said, stepping in with a leather folder. Eleanor Price, mid-40s, clear eyes. A voice that could thread a needle. "We'll go through standard provisions, and then the dispositive section. Dispositive. Lawyer language for the part that actually breaks hearts." I helped Grandma into a chair. Her scarf was blue today, the bright kind of blue you wear when you want to be seen. She touched my sleeve. The way she does when she wants to say I'm here without saying it out loud. I nodded. "I was here," Eleanor began. The room shifted into that careful silence people wear when they want to seem reasonable. She read the preface. Sound mind, no undue influence, witnessed, notarized. She listed small bequests. A wedding ring to a cousin in Greeley. A cedar chest to a neighbor who once helped with a winter storm. Recipe cards to a church friend. Every item felt like a tiny hallway leading to a bigger door. You could sense the real thing waiting. Rick drummed 2 fingers on the table until Dad shot him a look. Sandra didn't blink. She could have outstared marble. Eleanor flipped a page. Now the primary residence at 231 Juniper Hollow Road, all furnishings therein and any remaining bank account balances are devised and bequeathed to... The air changed. You know when a room inhales at the same time? Like the walls grow lungs? That, a collective brace. Hey, to my grandson, Kyle Anderson. The words didn't hit me. They hit the table. They hit the grain of oak, they slid into the scratches, they echoed in the little ring marks left by too many coffee cups, then they hit faces. Sandra's mouth opened and closed like a light flickering. Rick sat forward so fast his chair stuttered. Dad turned from the window, finally looking not at traffic, but at me. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. The room had narrowed into a tunnel, and at the end of it was Grandma's hand gripping mine. That grip, thin skin, bird bones, and the kind of strength that remembers you at 8 years old. Eleanor kept reading. It felt both merciless and kind that she did. Mineral rights associated with the Ridgeview parcel, Boulder County records attached, any remaining certificates of deposit, the whole inventory of a life's careful building, placed into a sentence that carried my name. Sandra found her voice first. "This is ridiculous," she said, controlled, like a match pretending not to be fire. "He barely visits. He swoops in and suddenly he inherits the entire estate?" "Miss Lane," Eleanor said evenly, "the instrument was executed last June. Your aunt was evaluated and cleared for capacity in May. Physician letters are on file." Rick leaned toward me, elbows on the table. "Did you bring her here?" Plant the idea? Whisper about wills and my future? I looked at him and then at Grandma. "I didn't even know this meeting existed until yesterday," I said. "I came because she asked me to sit with her." He laughed without smiling. "You always were her favorite." I wanted to answer that. I wanted to say favorite doesn't mean fraud. But Eleanor raised a palm, not to silence, but to space out the flames. "We'll note objections for the record," she said. "But the will speaks for itself." Dad cleared his throat, his way of changing topics without admitting he's changing topics. "Mom," he said to Grandma, "I don't understand this. You know how much we've done for this house." Grandma turned her head slowly. She didn't raise her voice. She never has to. "I know exactly how much," she said. "I also know who carried me up the stairs." The room tilted just enough for me to feel it. Eleanor slid clipped copies across the table like bandages. Witness signatures, notarization. The page with the decision in a clear, looping hand, not shaky, not confused. A hand that had graded spelling tests and signed permission slips and written grocery lists that always included butter and apples because butter and apples solve more problems than they cause. Sandra's eyes flashed. "Undue influence, then. What else explains this?" "Maybe love," I said. I kept my voice level. "Maybe respect." Rick jabbed a finger at me. "Convenient?" Here's the pattern interrupt none of them saw coming. I wasn't angry, not yet. I expected fury to flood me. Instead, I felt a calm that scared me more. You know that stillness right before a storm really commits? The clouds stop pretending to be decoration. The birds go quiet. I was that sky. Eleanor closed the folder with the care of someone who has closed a lot of folders that felt like grenades. "If there's an intent to contest, we can schedule mediation. Otherwise, the court will accept filing and transfer of title as stipulated," Sandra laughed, a sound like glass breaking in the next room. "Oh, we'll contest," she said. "We'll do more than contest. We'll tell the truth. He's manipulated her. He's been absent. He's—" "Enough," Dad said. It wasn't a roar. It was worse. It was the voice he uses when he thinks he owns the room. "We will handle this with respect." I looked at him. "Respect looks like not locking her in basements," I said. The sentence hung there, a small bright thing refusing to go out. Eleanor did not blink, but I saw the shadow of surprise. She'd heard plenty. "Maybe not that," Rick scoffed. "Here we go," he muttered. Grandma reached for my hand again. "Kyle," she said. "I'm here," I told her. Not for the first time, not for the last. Eleanor reopened the folder and slid one last page forward. "There's also a letter," she said. "Not legally required, but appended Mrs. Anderson wrote it after the will. She asked that it be read." Sandra rolled her eyes. "How sentimental. Eleanor read anyway. The letter wasn't long. It didn't need to be. My name, her reasons, words about dignity, about safety, about the difference between keeping someone hidden and keeping someone safe. She wrote, "I want my home in hands that remember how to open a door." The room went so quiet I could hear the HVAC click. It should have softened them. It didn't. Some people take tenderness as an insult. Rick crossed his arms. "We'll see you in court," he said. "We'll bring everything." "Bring everything," I said. "We'll bring the lock." Dad's jaw worked again, that old mill of pride grinding down what it couldn't swallow. "Kyle," he said, "there are better ways to handle family." "There are," I agreed. "Let's try one." Eleanor stacked the papers. "We'll file by afternoon," she said. "You'll get copies." She stood, the universal cue, chairs scraped, coats were adjusted, masks went back on. In the hallway, the hardware store below sent up the clink of metal on metal, keys, hinges, little bags of screws. I looked at Grandma in her bright scarf. She looked smaller than she had in the kitchen, smaller and somehow more visible. On the sidewalk, the sky was that pale, high-altitude gray that smells like snow. Sandra brushed past me without touching. Rick followed, phone already out, thumbs jumping. Dad paused at the top of the stairs. "You don't know what you've started," he said. "I did, though. That was the part that scared me." "I'm just keeping a promise," I said. "The one you taught me when I was 10. Remember? You don't back down if you're right." He didn't answer. He took the stairs like they were a sentence to be served, not steps to be walked. I turned to Grandma. "Do you want to sit for a minute?" She shook her head. "No," she said. "I want to go home. Home. A small word that asks big questions. Who decides what it means? Who holds the keys? Who writes the letter that says, 'Put it here in these hands,' and means it? If you've ever sat at a table and heard your name land like a verdict, if you've watched family choose money words over human ones, you already know what this felt like. And if you haven't, I hope you never do. But stay with me. Because this was only the midpoint, and midpoints are where the floor shifts. Tell me in the comments, have you been through a will reading that redrew the map of your family? What surprised you most, the paper or the people? Someone might need your story tonight. The courthouse in Boulder isn't grand. It's square and beige and practical, the kind of building that looks like it understands winter. The morning we walked in, the air had that cold metal smell you only get when snow is promised but late. I held the door. Grandma slipped past me in her blue scarf, the one she wears when she wants courage close to the skin. I told myself I was steady. My hands told another story. You think you're ready for court because you've watched enough shows. You are not. Real court has slower clocks. It has coughs and paper rustles, and a bailiff who says your name like it weighs something. I took the front row with Grandma. Sandra sat across the aisle, spine straight, chin higher than it needed to be. Rick slouched 2 chairs down, phone face down like a secret misbehaving. Dad picked the chair near the door. He always does. He likes exits. Kia case number is CR dash and 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 dashing dash and dash and dashing dash and 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 the dash and dash and dashing 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 dash and dashing 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 dash dashing 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 dashing
judge adjusted his glasses and scanned us like a teacher counting the naughty.
"We're here on a petition contesting the will of Margaret Anderson." His eyes landed on Grandma. "Ma'am." He nodded, and it wasn't empty. Their lawyer went first. Of course he did. Smooth suit, gleaming shoes, a smile that tried to be kind and clever at once. "Your Honor," he began, "this is a simple matter of undue influence and diminished capacity." Simple. I felt my jaw tighten. Simple is a word people use when they want you to stop thinking. He painted a careful picture. An elderly woman, confused. A grandson with a badge, persuasive. A sudden change in estate plans. The story had all the right beats if you didn't mind being wrong. I watched the jurors. Not a jury, technically, but people always watch like one. And I could feel it. The easy slide his words offered. It's always easier to believe the person who stayed, even if they stayed for the wrong reasons. Our attorney, Eleanor, stood when it was time. She didn't oversell. She didn't smile like a weapon. "We'll show Mrs." Anderson was evaluated by her physician, she said. "We'll show letters in her own hand." "We'll show not influence, but a granddaughter's," she corrected herself, "a grandson's consistent care." She glanced at me just once. It felt like a hand on my shoulder. They called Sandra first. She walked to the stand in a fur-collared armor and took the oath like it was beneath her. "Tell us about your aunt," their lawyer said. "She's not herself anymore," Sandra said. "She repeats stories, she forgets names. We've done our best." Her voice did that quiver thing smart people use when they want to sound injured and noble. Then Kyle shows up and everything changes. Eleanor stood. "Mrs. Lane, did your aunt forget your name?" "No." "Did she stop paying her bills?" "No." "Attending church?" "No." "Writing letters?" Sandra's mouth thinned. "She writes. So she remembers names, pays bills, attends services, writes letters." "But she's not herself?" Sandra stared at the microphone like it had betrayed her. "It's different. Different." Another chandelier word. Pretty, heavy. Useless in a windstorm. Rick went next. He sprawled like a teenager who discovered furniture yesterday. "We kept her safe," he said. "She wanders, she falls. We had to make hard calls. Kyle doesn't know. He's not around." Eleanor picked up a photo. "Mr. Lane, do you see what's in this picture?" He squinted. "A wrist. Whose?" He swallowed. "My aunt's." "And what's around it?" He hesitated. "Bruising. Another photo. What about this?" He sighed. "A lock." "On what?" He knew the trap and fell in anyway. "A basement door. Is a lock care?" He opened his mouth. He closed it. "Context matters," he said finally, a student reaching for extra credit after failing the exam. Eleanor didn't raise her voice. Context doesn't erase a lock. Then it was me. I'd been in court before, but never like this. I raised my right hand, sat down, and told the truth the way you do when you want the floor to stop tilting. "New Year's Eve," I said. "Music upstairs, crying below, a locked door. I broke it. She was on the concrete in a blanket." My throat tightened. I kept going. "She said they didn't want her upstairs." Their lawyer smiled the way people smile when they think they just found a loose thread. "Officer Anderson, how often do you visit your family?" "Not as often as I should." "No. Truth is the only anchor in a room like that." "So you wouldn't know the day-to-day reality?" "I know a lock when I see one." "Perhaps she wanted quiet," he said. The word perhaps perched like a vulture. "Nobody wants to be alone in the dark while their family toasts a new year," I said. It came out flat, not dramatic, which somehow made it land harder. Someone sniffed behind me. The bailiff shifted, not bored anymore. Eleanor brought out the bag, not a flourish, a zipper. Inside, the lock, wrapped in an evidence envelope because some things deserve formality. She set it on the rail. The The judge leaned forward. He didn't touch it. He didn't need to. We all knew what it was. Then she slid over the photos. The bruise circled like a bad moon. The basement bulb, naked and too bright. A blanket that looked like it had failed one too many times. The room went quiet in a new way. Not polite, not courtroom quiet. The kind of quiet you get when a story picks its side. We could have rested there. We didn't. Eleanor lifted a neat stack of pages, onion skin thin. Letters, she said. From Margaret to her grandson, over years, some recent. She read a line from one. You have always honored me. She read another. I want you to have this home because you open doors. The words were simple. They were also specific. Specific beats simple every day, pattern interrupt. For 1 second, I wasn't in that courtroom. I was 10 again, and Grandma was writing notes and sticking them in my lunch. Proud of you, on the day I didn't strike out. You're kind. On the day a kid cried on the bus and I sat with him instead of staring out the window. She wrote truths that landed first and made me want to live up to them. That's what letters do when they're honest. They build the person who reads them. Defense calls Margaret Anderson, Eleanor said. I didn't breathe. The room didn't either. Grandma stood small and straight. The bailiff offered an arm. She didn't take it. She took the oath and sat, her hands folded, her scarf bright. Her voice quiet, the quiet that makes microphones grateful. Mrs. Anderson, Eleanor said, do you understand why we're here? I do. Did you intend to leave your home to your grandson? Yes. Why? She looked at the judge, not at Sandra, not at Rick, not even at me. Because he opens doors, she said. Because he answers when I speak. Because he sees me. The judge didn't blink. None of us did. Their lawyer stood, polite as a fence post. Mrs. Anderson, do you sometimes forget things? I forget where I put my glasses, she said. I do not forget where I belong. Have you been confused lately? I was confused, she said softly, about why my family thought darkness was care. He cleared his throat. No further questions. He should have said no better questions. The judge set his pen down like a gavel he was warming up. Counsel, he said. Anything else? Eleanor shook her head. The will is valid on its face and supported by testimony and contemporaneous letters. The judge looked at the lock. He looked at the photos without picking them up. He looked at Grandma, who looked back like she'd been waiting her whole life to be seen by a person with a robe and a gavel and a say. He leaned forward. The court finds the will valid, he said. The estate passes to Mr. Anderson. He paused. The pause wasn't for drama. It was for weight. And let me add, locking an elder in a basement is not care. It is cruelty. Sound came back all at once, a cough, a chair leg scraping, a breath that might have been mine. Sandra's mouth tightened into something that could cut glass. Rick stared at the table as if numbers might appear and save him. Dad didn't move at all. I didn't cheer. It wasn't that kind of win. I turned to Grandma. We're going home, I said. She nodded, and in that nod I saw 20 small victories I'd never noticed. Every grocery list doubled so there was always soup for visitors. Every quilt stitched with quiet patience. Every time she'd chosen soft words over sharp ones and still not surrendered ground. People stood as we walked out, not clapping, just standing, men in work boots, women in church coats, a teenager in a hoodie who looked surprised to find himself respecting a stranger. They made a corridor with their bodies. Respect can be a hallway. It felt like one then. On the steps, the sky finally let go. Snow, light, bright, stubborn. Grandma tilted her face up and smiled. Feels clean, she said. I wanted to believe that meant the hard part was over. Maybe you do too. But a verdict doesn't fix a crack. It names it. It tells the house where to start. We reached the curb. Eleanor shook my hand. Get some rest, she said. File will be recorded by afternoon. She glanced back at the building. You did right. Did I? I asked. You opened a door, she said. That's a beginning. I looked at Grandma's scarf, the blue bright as a flag. I thought of the lock in an envelope, the bruise in a photograph, the line in a letter. I want my home in hands that remember how to open a door. Sometimes justice sounds like paper. Sometimes it sounds like a key turning. And sometimes it sounds like a whole town standing up without being asked. Winning in court didn't change how the house breathed. Old wood still sighed when heat kicked on. The front steps still groaned like a tired man every time I climbed them. But it changed how I walked through it. Doors open, lights on, no more whispers. If you've ever tried to turn a place of hurt into a place of help, you know the first tool you reach for isn't a hammer, it's time. Grandma wanted the community room in the front parlor. Son finds it first, she said. She was right. Morning poured through those tall windows like it had a key. I called a contractor I trusted from Denver, name's Luis. Quiet, careful, the kind of guy who measures twice and then measures again because pride hates rework. We started small. Pulling up stained carpet, rolling paint on the ceiling, fixing a hairline crack that spidered above the mantel. It felt good, useful, like sweeping after a storm. Then we hit the floor in the back hallway, old pine boards scuffed by decades of boots, and Luis crouched, listening with his knuckles the way surgeons listen with stethoscopes. There's air under here, he said. Crawl space? I asked. He shook his head. Not like that. Like space. I laughed because nerves confuse humor for oxygen. Define space. He tapped again. A hollow sound answered back, not the soft kind, the clean metallic kind. We cleared the hallway. Grandma watched from a chair, scarf tied loose today because the house was finally warm. I helped Luis slide the first board free. Dust leaped up like it had been waiting for us. He pried another, then another, teeth of a pry bar easing up history. The smell was old wood, dry and sweet, and something else. Cold iron, maybe, or the idea of it. Then his crowbar hit metal, a sharp clank, pattern interrupt. Everything paused. Luis looked at me. I looked at the floor like it had spoken my name. We lifted 3 more boards, and there it was, a steel rectangle, flush with the joists, its edges framed in concrete that had settled just enough to make a thin shadow, a safe, not a toy, not a box. A safe that meant somebody once wanted something to stay. Could be empty, Luis said. People always say that when hope gets loud. Could be, I said. But my hands were already on the corners, brushing off grit, finding the dial. The numbers were worn but legible, no brand name. Just steel, stubborn, and honest. Grandma leaned forward. Your grandfather hated banks, she said. He trusted coffee cans and walls. She smiled a little, then the smile fell. But he loved paper. He believed in paper doing the telling. We tried the obvious combinations, birthdays, the address, the year the house went up. Nothing. Luis called his brother-in-law, who knows a guy. By afternoon, a locksmith named Marty stood over the safe, headlamp on like a miner, stethoscope pressed to metal. I made coffee. He didn't take it. Ears busy, fingers listening. You'd be surprised how many people think safes are about money, he muttered. They're about stories. The dial turned, stopped, turned back, stopped again. He exhaled through his nose, slow. It's old, he said. But she wants to talk. It took an hour, maybe longer. I stopped checking. Time does that accordion thing when you're waiting for a thing you can't name. Then Marty smiled with half his mouth. There, he said. She's open. He spun the handle and pulled. The seal let go with a soft sigh, like a long-held breath. Inside, envelopes tied with twine, a cracked leather ledger, a slim tin box, and a roll of something that looked like a blueprint but smelled like the past. No stacks of cash, no pearls, paper, like Grandma said. I lifted the ledger first. The leather groaned. Names filled the first pages in a tidy hand. Dates, tallies, not debts. Shares. Then a line that made the hair on my arms stand up. Mitchell Ridge, Mineral Survey Parcel Divisions. We're not the Mitchells. But old roads rename land without asking. I set the ledger down and untied the twine on the envelopes. Deeds, notarized. Stamps yellowed into rust. Assignment of mineral rights. Transfer of interest. Some to family. Some back to a trust that had our house's legal description written in ink that refused to fade. The rolled papers were maps, hand-drawn, ridges and streams. A dotted line that ran like a vein across 4 parcels. A legend in the corner, Boulder County Mine District, 1949. On the margin, a note in pencil. Keep with M. M as in Margaret? I asked. Grandma nodded once. No triumph, just recognition. Your great-grandfather believed women remember what men misplace, she said. He hid things where the house could hold them. We laid everything out on the dining table like a patient. Louise and Marty stood back, the way you stand back from a sunset you didn't expect. I took photos. Front, back, close-ups. I sent them to Eleanor with a text. Found a safe. Papers Ray. Mineral rights, need your eyes. She responded in 3 dots and then full sentences. Don't move anything else. I'm on my way. Eleanor arrived with a portable scanner and a calm that slowed me down. She handled the documents like birds. These are clean, she said, old but clean. She pointed to the stamps. Recorded. Some cross-referenced. If valid, this enlarges the estate. Enlarges, I repeated. A tidy word trying to hold a big thing still. Grandma touched my elbow. It changes nothing, she said gently. A home is a home. She was right and she wasn't. In families like mine, paper changes everything. By evening, we'd recovered the hole with loose boards and blue tape so nobody would walk into the past and sprain an ankle. The safe stayed open, empty but heavy, like a stage after the actor's bow. Eleanor took copies, made calls, and promised to start the chain that makes paper official again. You know what else paper does? It leaks. The next morning, the neighbor from 2 doors down arrived with a plate of cookies and a question too sweet by half. Big project going on? Heard you found something interesting under there. I smiled like a person who didn't hear the capital letters in something interesting. I thanked her. I said we were just fixing squeaks. She left the plate in the roomer. By lunch, my phone lit up with a text from Rick. Congrats on striking it rich, cousin. See you soon. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. 10 minutes later, Sandra called. No greeting. You're obligated to disclose assets, she said. Anything discovered post-verdict is part of the estate. Estate that the court awarded to Grandma, I said. And the will names me, she snorted. We'll see what recorded means in daylight. I hung up before words started burning. I turned to Grandma. She was sitting in the front parlor, sunlight on her hands, eyes on the window, not the phone. They're coming, I said. I know. She said, they always come when paper promises something they want. I don't scare easy. Badge life will sand that off you quick. But I felt it then. The old pressure in the walls, the whisper at the edges of rooms where money walks in hat first. We didn't chase treasure. We were building a community space. Yet a safe under a floor had done what safes do. It held a story until a different set of hands opened it. And people love to argue who owns stories. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house made night sounds, the kind you either learn or hate. The heater exhaled. The porch light clicked. A mouse reconsidered the kitchen and chose honesty instead. I lay there and tried not to count the ways this could go wrong. Lawyers, news vans. My dad standing in the hallway pretending to be neutral. Sandra holding a press conference in a coat that swallowed her like armor. Rick finding a camera he could smirk into. Morning came like it always does, 1 quiet degree at a time. I brewed coffee strong enough to persuade. I sat with Grandma at the table where we'd spread the map the day before. She traced the dotted vein with a finger that shook because hands shake, not because hearts do. Your great-grandfather walked these ridges, she said. Said the land is slow, but it speaks. What's it saying now? I asked. She looked at me. That keeping a door open is harder when people bring ladders. If you've ever found a secret in a place you were trying to heal, if you've ever watched paper lure old ghosts back into daylight, you know what comes next. People, questions, claims. I'm not asking for advice. I'm asking for stories. Drop one in the comments. What did you uncover that changed everything and nothing at the same time? Someone else might be standing over their own safe right now. News doesn't walk in this town, it sprints. By the end of the week, the safe under our floor had grown legs and teeth. A blog got it first, then a radio spot with a host who smiles with his voice. Then the local paper printed a headline that did what headlines do, state A, maybe like a fact. Hidden mine rights found in Boulder home. You know how that lands. To some people it reads like history. To others, like a lottery ticket with a family name on it. Sandra called on a Monday, her voice polished to a shine. We're filing, she said. No hello, no how is she. Post-judgment discovery. You concealed assets. We found documents, I said. We scanned and recorded them. Eleanor notified you the same day. And you expect us to take your word for authenticity? She laughed, a tiny knife. See you in court, Kyle. Grandma was at the table, teacup in both hands, watching steam write a small ghost in the air. They'll say anything, she said gently. We'll say only what's true. They filed. Of course they did. Motion to reopen estate and quiet title, the caption read. Every syllable looked ironed. They alleged we hid property. They alleged elder confusion exploited by a beneficiary. They alleged everything except love. The court set a hearing for Friday. That left 4 days for the town to split into teams. You see it in the grocery store first. People choose different aisles. Someone who's known you since Little League pretends not to read your face. A man in a Broncos jacket tells you, hey, if I found a gold vein, I wouldn't share either. I told him we didn't find gold. He grinned. Paper's better. Paper doesn't rust. Eleanor moved like a surgeon the night before a big operation. She built a binder as thick as winter. Chain of custody, scans, county stamps, dates, the ledger's entries cross-checked with the clerk's old books. And then she slid a protective sleeve across the table with something new. What's that? I asked. A letter, she said, from your great-grandfather, found tucked inside the ledger's back pocket. It fell when we flattened the spine. The paper was thin and stubborn. The date, September 12th, 1950. The handwriting, clean and patient. It was addressed to M, no last name. He wrote about the ridge, about keeping what is promised with the home, about handing stewardship to the one who keeps doors open. My throat tightened when I read that line. Coincidence is just a pattern we haven't earned yet. Some patterns are inheritance. Friday smelled like court, paper, air conditioning, anxiety. This courtroom was the same beige box as before, but nothing felt the same. The benches were full. Reporters found angles where none existed. A camera sat on a tripod like a quiet threat. The judge looked like a man who had seen enough of other people's Christmases. They went first. Their new lawyer had a voice like a warm coat and the morals of a vending machine. Your Honor, he began, opposing party has, subsequent to this court's prior ruling, conveniently discovered a trove of property documents purporting to vest valuable mineral rights. We contend these papers are suspect. We contend they were concealed. We contend... He contended a lot. It was a speech for microphones. People nodded who like nodding at microphones. Then he called Rick. Rick wore a tie that looked like it came with the shirt. He found the witness chair and sat like he wanted to negotiate with gravity. We did the hard work, he told the lawyer. We kept the house standing. We paid bills when she forgot. Now suddenly there's paper that says he gets more? Did you ever see such documents before? The lawyer asked. No. Would you have known where to look? Rick smirked. If I'd known there was buried treasure, I'd have bought a shovel. The courtroom laughed the way a room laughs when it wants to be cruel without getting caught. Eleanor stood, a note in her voice that meant enough. Mr. Lane, in your earlier testimony, you said you kept Mrs. Anderson safe. Rick rolled his eyes. We did. Does safe include locking her beneath a floor? He looked at the judge, then back at Eleanor. Context. Answer the question. He swallowed. No. No further questions. Sandra's turn. She walked like a person who believed footsteps could establish ownership. The lawyer guided her through phrases designed to stick. Undue influence, sudden change, vulnerable adult. Sandra delivered them like scripture. Then Eleanor stood and asked 3 questions that had the weight of 10. Did you ever inquire with the county about historical mineral filings attached to the property? No. Did you ever search the home's structural cavities before listing it unsafe for your aunt to access? A pause. No. Did you ever at any time ask your aunt what she wanted? You could hear the air exit the room. We did what was best, Sandra said. It sounded like a translation for we did what was convenient. Then Eleanor called me. Tell us what you found, she said. A safe under the hallway boards, I said. A ledger, deeds, maps. Where were they prior to discovery? In the safe. Did you place them there? No. Did you alter or backdate any document? No, she nodded. No further questions. It felt almost too clean, like a snowfield with no tracks. But the snow wasn't the point. The ground was. Defense calls Margaret Anderson, she said next. The room straightened like a school assembly when a beloved teacher walks in. Grandma took the stand. Her scarf was not blue this time, it was white. I don't think that meant surrender. I think it meant winter doesn't scare her. Mrs. Anderson, Eleanor said, do you recognize these documents? I do, Grandma said. They lived under our feet longer than I've been alive. Do you know why they were kept? My father-in-law believed some promises shouldn't be kept in banks, she said. He thought houses remember better than vaults. Did you instruct anyone to conceal them? No. Did you intend that your home and associated rights remain within your will as written? Yes. Their lawyer stood, feigning gentleness. Mrs. Anderson, do you recall every paper your husband or father-in-law handled? No. So it's possible you're mistaken about these. It's possible I've misremembered a face from 1949, she said. It is not possible I'm confused about who opens my doors. He blinked. You can't cross-examine a sentence that true. No further questions. Eleanor looked at the judge. One final exhibit, Your Honor. She approached with the sleeve. A letter, dated 1950, from the prior owner and family patriarch. She read it aloud. The line came like a bell. Keep with M, keep with the home. Give to the one who keeps doors open. Pattern interrupt. The courtroom disappeared for me. I was back on that Saturday morning as a kid, batter on my knuckles, Grandma smiling like a light left on for late returners. A mess means you're doing, she told me then. That letter felt like the genealogy of that sentence. People long gone had pointed forward, past bank tellers and signatures and winter storms, to a very specific present tense. Someone who opens doors. The judge leaned back, hands steepled. He looked at the deeds, the maps, the ledger, the letter, the woman in white who had just named the difference between protection and imprisonment without using either word. He looked at Sandra and Rick like a man inspecting expensive paint that won't stick. When he spoke, the room stilled as if the building wanted to hear. The petitioners have not met their burden, he said. The documents appear authentic on their face, recorded or recordable, and consistent with contemporaneous filings. He tapped the letter with a pen, light, but not lightly. The history described aligns with the testimony we heard in the prior hearing. This court reaffirms the will's validity, denies the motion to reopen, and directs quiet title in accordance with the estate's current posture. And then he did something judges don't have to do, he explained. We are not in the business of rewarding whatever is loudest, he said. We are here to weigh what is true. A safe under a floor is not a conspiracy. A woman's signature is not a costume. A lock is not care. He looked right at Sandra and Rick. Do not use this court to launder your regret. Sound returned like a wave stepping ashore, a hum, a cough, a news camera clicking out of patience. Rick's lips moved around words he couldn't afford to say. Sandra's jaw tightened into a point you could hang a coat on. Dad stared at his shoes as if they had instructions printed on them, and he'd just found the small print. Me? I exhaled. I didn't raise my fists. I didn't look for cameras. I looked at Grandma. Her shoulders dropped the way a carried bag drops when someone finally says, "Let me." I held her hand. It was warm. Mine weren't shaking anymore. Outside, the microphones swarmed. We tried to pass through like weather, touching nothing. A reporter with perfect hair asked, "Do you feel vindicated?" "No," I said. "I feel relieved." Vindication is for arguments. Relief is for people. Another shouted, "What will you do with the mine rights?" "We'll do what the paper says," I answered. "We'll keep our promises with the home." We reached the steps. Eleanor clasped my shoulder. "That was the hard one," she said. "I don't think so," I wanted to say. The hard one is always the next right thing, but I only nodded. "Thank you," I told her. She deserved every syllable. Back at the house, we set the binder on the dining table and closed the safe. Not sealed, just closed. There's a difference. I made tea. Grandma took her chair by the window. Snow began in earnest, the kind that erases edges and gives roofs back their childhood. For the first time since New Year's, the place didn't feel like it was bracing. It felt like it was breathing. If you've ever stood your ground when noise tried to pass for truth, if you've had to defend a door you chose to open, tell me how you knew you were done. Not finished forever, just done enough to sleep. Drop your story below. Someone out there is walking into their own last fight, and your words might be the light they follow out. The morning after the ruling, the house felt lighter, not louder. Lighter. Like someone had opened a window I couldn't see. The furnace hummed a low, even note. Snow on the porch rail turned to glass. Grandma sat by the front window in her chair, white scarf loose at the throat, hands wrapped around a mug that steamed like a small, patient cloud. We didn't say much. Some victories ask for quiet. I brewed coffee, the strong Denver kind that tastes like someone stood a spoon in it, and the spoon saluted. I brought her a slice of toast because she always eats toast after an ordeal. She says the crunch tells your brain you're still here. We listened to the neighborhood wake. Plows scraped the street. A kid tested a sled on a nothing hill and declared it perfect. Somewhere a dog barked at a squirrel who had no plans to change. "Let's write it down," Grandma said. No preamble, just the sentence she uses when she wants to turn air into action. "Write what down?" I asked, though I already knew. "The promise," she said. "What this house is for." We spread papers across the dining table, maps, deeds, the letter that had traveled 75 winters to get here, my notebook, her church directory with phone numbers you can still dial without checking. I printed a clean sheet. Anderson Home Commitment. It looked stiff. It softened when Grandma dictated the first line. This place opens doors. We listed what that meant. A community room for elders who need a warm afternoon and someone to listen. A phone tree for rides to appointments. A small legal clinic once a month. Eleanor's idea. She said half of justice is making paperwork less scary. A fund seeded from the mineral rights to keep roofs from leaking on fixed incomes. No one would call it a charity. They'd call it a neighbor. Name? I asked. A good place needs a name you can fit in your mouth without ceremony. Grandma ran a finger along the rim of her mug, thinking. Margaret's Haven feels like a brag, she said. This is bigger than me. What about Juniper House? I said. For the road. For the trees that don't scare easy, she smiled. Juniper House, she repeated, and the room nodded. We called Luis about permits. We called the church hall about folding chairs we could borrow for the first week. We called the food pantry director about a fridge. We called the library about hosting a satellite book cart for people who can't stand long. It felt like sending out a net and hearing it ring on wires strung above the town. People said yes before they knew details. Sometimes a yes is a way of saying we've been waiting. By afternoon, the sun found the front parlor exactly like Grandma promised it would. We taped butcher paper along 2 walls and wrote headings in fat marker. Rides, repairs, meals, paperwork, open doors. It looked like a child's plan for a city. Maybe all good plans do. Dad came by just before dusk. He hovered in the doorway like a habit he hadn't kicked. You're really doing this, he said. Not a question. We are, I said. We're going to use part of the mineral income for a fund. No one will be asked to prove they deserve help. They'll ask, we'll help, we'll keep receipts, transparency board, public ledger. He nodded at that last word like it was the first one he recognized. He stared at the butcher paper. People will take advantage, he said. Some will, I said. Most won't. He rubbed his jaw. I was wrong about the basement, he said. Words ground out like they cost him. I let practicality win. He didn't look at me. That won't happen again. It wasn't an apology that fixed a decade. It wasn't meant to be. It was a sentence you put in the wall so the house remembers your intent, I nodded. There's a toolbox by the radiator, I said. If you want to help hang the coat hooks. We worked without much talking. Hooks in a straight row, a bench beneath them for winter boots to give up their surrender. At one point, he lifted the level and said, Your grandfather refused this thing. He said, eyeballing builds character. He smiled at the level's bubble. I prefer the bubble. By the end of the week, Juniper House looked like a place you could trust with a Tuesday. A local handyman installed a wider ramp and refused payment, calling it square for all the casseroles your aunt brought when my wife was sick. A group of teenagers shoveled the walk and then stayed to arrange books they didn't plan to read. The food pantry rolled in a fridge and wrote our address on the side with a label maker that made me weirdly happy. We planned a small opening. It did not stay small. Word of mouth has a way of building a parade without floats. Church ladies in hats and teachers in snow boots and EMTs just off shift, and a man who swore he once delivered newspapers to this porch when papers were fat with ads. Eleanor came with a box of legal pamphlets that didn't feel like pamphlets. They felt like little ropes across big rivers. Luis brought his crew and a stack of donated folding chairs because he said, people stand too much when they're nervous. I made a sign from the back of an old cabinet door, painted it the color of plowed fields, stenciled Juniper House in block letters, then added smaller words below. Open doors, warm seats, paper made simple. It wasn't poetry. It didn't need to be. Grandma insisted on cutting the ribbon. We didn't have a ribbon. We had twine and the scissors we keep for wrapping paper. She stood on the porch with her white scarf tucked into her coat, and the whole town breathing a fog you could almost lean on. Thank you for coming to a house that kept me safe and needed me to return the favor, she said. No microphone, no speechwriter. A line straight from her to the street. She cut the twine. The door swung open. People made a sound that wasn't quite a cheer and wasn't quite a sigh. It was both. Inside, the day moved like it meant to set a new pace. A man asked if someone could read an insurance letter out loud because the words co-insurance and deductible were trying to marry in his head. Eleanor read. She translated. She wrote 3 steps on a card and circled the first one so he wouldn't forget where to start. A woman needed a ride to a physical therapy appointment. 2 volunteers raised their hands at once. An older couple hovered by the heater until Grandma waved them over with a smile that said, "Sit, you're already home." Pattern interrupt. Mid-afternoon, a kid came in holding a trumpet case that squeaked when he walked. He wasn't there for help. He was there because the door was open and the place looked like somewhere sound would be welcome. He played a shaky version of Auld Lang Syne. People clapped like it was the first song they'd ever heard. He blushed the color of cranberries and grinned so wide my chest hurt. For a moment, the room was not a clinic or a pantry or a plan. It was just a place where Joy tried something and got caught. We set up a bulletin board for what we need and one for what we have. Under need we pinned salt for the walk, bus passes, someone good with tax forms. Under have, 2 extra coats. Medium, a donated space heater, time. People traded lines from one side to the other. That board did something to me. It said we weren't building a monument. We were building a market where dignity could shop. Later, a social worker stopped by. She'd heard about the court case and the safe and the letter with the line about doors. "We get 20 calls a week from elders scared of their own paperwork," she said. "Juniper House can catch some of that." She slipped a card into my hand. "We'll steer what fits." By evening, the light went gold and then blue. People left with scarves snug and cheeks pinked by the kind of cold that tells you the day did more good than harm. We washed mugs until the sink gleamed. We counted cash from a coffee can donations jar because some habits earn their keep. We wrote every dollar in a ledger that made a small, satisfying line where a name once made a ledger into a weapon. Dad came back with a toolbox and 2 framed photos. One was of the house when it wore clapboards and a porch swing that didn't squeak yet. The other was of Grandma at 20, hair up, grin that could referee a street fight and convince both sides they'd already won. "Thought these should be here," he said. He hung them without asking where. He chose the hall. Good choice. That's where people look up from their worries and find a face that reminds them they aren't the first to try. Night settled like a blanket you don't have to fight with. I made soup. Grandma ate it like someone who had finally put down a weight. After dishes, we sat with the front door cracked and listened to the town. Laughter from the corner, a bus sighing to a stop. Tires whispering secrets to the snow. "This is what I meant," Grandma said, "when I told you a home keeps promises." "I know," I said, "I did. And I also knew it wouldn't always look like this. There would be days the radiator clanked too loud, and the phone didn't ring, and the first domino wouldn't fall. There would be forms we couldn't fix, and roofs we couldn't patch fast enough. But the door was open. That was the commandment." Before bed, I wrote a note and pinned it to the bulletin board above the words "Open Doors." It read, "Mineral income allocation, 30% Juniper Fund, 20% emergency fuel, 20% repairs, 20% meals, cha transport, 10% reserve. Public ledger and kitchen, ask, check, hold us honest." It wasn't flowery. It was a promise with math in it. As for Sandra and Rick, they didn't come. Not that day, maybe not ever. People think closure is a scene where everyone apologizes at once and the music swells. In my experience, closure is a hallway you choose every morning. Some folks stand at the end and shout. Some never step in. You still walk it. If you've been with me from the basement door to this open one, you already know the moral I won't pretend is subtle. Choose dignity over secrecy, people over paper, doors over locks. If a house breathes easier because you came back on a cold night and said, "We can do better here," that's a legacy. No plaque required. So here's my ask. Soft but serious. If you've got a spare hour this week, spend it in a place with a door open to someone who needs it. If you have a story about a home that kept its promise, or one that learned how, drop it in the comments. Someone in Denver, or Toronto, or Manchester might be reading at midnight, wondering if they can make a small thing big. Tell them yes. Tell them how. We turned off the porch light. The snow stitched the street closed and then opened it again where footsteps proved the map wrong. Inside, the radiator hummed a lullaby I didn't know I knew. Juniper House slept like a house that had finally found its job. And for the first time in a long while, so did I.